guys. We have a special Thanksgiving EyeSwoon Unplugged for you. I'm gonna make for you one of my absolute favorite fall dishes, which is just a slew of kind of root vegetables that are sliced up on a sheet pan, popped in a super high heat oven at 425. I love this recipe. I tend to go overboard sometimes for the holidays and make too many things because I love so many different flavors. But in my opinion, making one roasted dish that has all the veggies you can ever want for Thanksgiving. In this one, it's sweet potatoes and it's carrots and it's parsnips. And then on a separate sheet pan, I'm gonna put shallots and apples because they kind of cook at a different rate as those other vegetables. But once you toss them all together, you get these savory elements, you get these sweet elements. I'm gonna use some thyme and I'm gonna use some rosemary. Please feel free to kind of riff off of this recipe. You can add fennel if you want. You can even make some sort of grain like a farro and kind of toss the veggies with farro to make it like an even heartier dish. You can also put it all on a bed of yogurt or labna. There's just so many different ways to kind of amplify this recipe. It's super simple. It can also be made in advance and served at room temperature. So I'm gonna take you through the process and I know you're gonna love it as much as I do. So I have 2 sweet potatoes, a bunch of carrots, and I have 3 parsnips. I am going to cut these sweet potatoes into wedges. I am not gonna peel them because I'm all about ease. All right, so you will see I halved and then quartered, and I've made them in about 1 inch kind of wedges. I would say that, you know, you don't have to be so kind of specific about this, but you do want them all to be around the same size so that they cook evenly, which I think these are. So I have a whole bunch of carrots here. I am gonna have these lengthwise. This recipe calls for 6 shallots, but my family is obsessed with shallots, so I'm actually gonna do 8 shallots. Cutting them in half definitely makes it easier to remove the skin. I might use a knife. Take out my skills from culinary school, which I don't always use. All right, so this is what we learned when I went to culinary school. You're supposed to use, well, that came out easily. You're supposed to use your paring knife. This recipe calls for Macintosh. I happen to have Honey Crisp on hand, which are kind of my favorite apples, so that's what I'm using. Let's get everything set out on our sheet pan. And what is my golden rule of thumb, guys? I say it over and over again. Do not overcrowd your sheet pans. If you have to use more than what a recipe says to use, then use another sheet pan. I'll say it again for anyone that doesn't know, but when you overcrowd your sheet pan, your vegetables are gonna steam against one another instead of getting that, when they hit this surface and this surface is super hot, it's gonna get that incredible kind of brown caramelization on the vegetables, and that's what you want. You do not want like slimy vegetables. You want like browned and caramelized vegetables. Drizzle generously with olive oil. You want all of the vegetables completely coated. I've got thyme, rosemary. You can kind of see what's going on here. Salt. I'm gonna give this a little bit more olive oil because I really want to get that gorgeous golden sear. And now I'm going to move on to our shallots and our apples. Okay guys, I just kind of seasoned all of my vegetables. I'm gonna pop these in the oven because these roast longer than the apples and the shallots do. And one thing to keep in mind is to always read through a recipe because you're gonna wanna cut these first and prep these first so that they can go into the oven to be efficient. And when these are roasting in the oven, you can kind of organize yourself and set up the other components of the recipe, like the apples and the shallots. So these are gonna go in for 15 minutes, 400-degree oven. And we'll prep the rest. This is Chuko's first experience on EyeSwoon Unplugged. Can you say hello? Hi.